that is, I think that's a great question to continue to ask, right? Whether or not it's a good time to buy or even sell for that matter. But let's take a step back. Let's focus on your individual markets. What are you seeing in your individual markets? And if you could provide a very high level of your individual markets, we'll dive into some details in just a bit, but from an Everest view, what's happening in your markets? For example, is Dallas still seeing this large scale migration from other parts of the country? I mean, we joked about this, a couple of weeks ago, Carlos and Naomi, where I lived in Dallas, when I lived there a few years ago, that was considered far out there. But now, I mean, you can be 40 miles away and still be part of, the DFW proper area, right? I mean, that's what the migration has done. So again, let's take a step back. Let's start by describing your markets. What's happening in your markets right now?
Yeah, I would say the majority of my clients are from out of state. I still have them on my pipeline, people that are coming. I even have clients that have jobs that have moved them, are coming in the next couple of months. The majority of my clients are relocation coming from other states.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, if it's decreased, it's only been 10-20%, but we do see a lot of people still relocating to the Dallas area.
Okay. All right, so let's come to Kathy. Kathy, it doesn't matter if it's the Bay Area, it doesn't matter if it's Phoenix. If you can feel free to describe both.
Sure.
What's happening in those markets? What are you seeing? Talk about the inventory. Talk about how aggressive buyers need to be, sellers, et cetera. Again, give me that Everest viewpoint.
Sure. So the market is becoming definitely more balanced between the buyers and sellers. We still have a little bit of multiple offers going on here in the Bay Area, not so much in Arizona, but definitely here in the Bay Area, as our inventory is not as wide and as accessible as it is in Arizona. The markets are totally different. The great thing about the Bay Area now is that buyers are able to continue having their inspections done without removing their contingencies. The same thing with the appraisals, no longer having those contingencies removed, which is great. Buyers are pretty excited about that they're not feeling forced to have to buy something. They have more opportunity now to be more selective in what they're buying. They don't feel as pressured, but buyers are still buying, sellers are still selling. It's not doom and gloom out there. Days on market here in the Bay Area are about 27 days on the market. In Arizona, it could go 30, 35, 40 days on the market. So things are still moving along. We're still going at it.
Carlos Espinoza, what about you?
Right. Yeah. So the market here in the DC area is similar to the Bay market, as Kathy explained. It's still an active market, but is it a white hot market as it was in 2021? No, it's not. So sometimes we get prospects that and we work with buyers that say, well, I hear the market's changing. I want to offer $100,000 less than list price, and we're like, well, it's not that bad. Like it's still a good market. Where the average home days on market here is around 3 weeks, and DC, like you mentioned, Peter, is a transient area. What we're noticing, because of course, like the DC area is a combination of the Maryland, DC, and Virginia. With Amazon headquarters coming to Northern Virginia, that's really brought in a different group of buyers and different group of prospects to our market. So we're seeing a lot of tech companies starting to move into the Northern Virginia area right outside DC. So that's really pumping up that market there on the Virginia side, which really has been different from the last than what we're used to in general.
Okay. So thank you very much for kind of walking me through, again, the high level of your markets. Now, Kathy, you mentioned this, transparent pricing, and just so everyone's aware of this, transparent pricing is essentially by saying a seller's going to price their home to the point where it's really the asking price they're willing to accept, right? That is the transparent price, and the days of the bidding wars where a house goes for $50,000 or $100,000 over asking, that's kind of, that doesn't go along with transparent pricing. Now, Kathy, you kind of mentioned in your area, Carlos and Carlos Espinoza and Carlos and Naomi, are you seeing that transparent pricing trend in DC or DFW as well, or is it still red hot?
We are seeing the transparent pricing. A lot of families were afraid of selling their house when the market was hot for sellers because they didn't know where they were going to go. Now, because they know, yes, we might not get 100,000 above list price, but we feel safer. We're more confident that we will be able to purchase once we sell our home. That's why they actually just give the bottom transparent pricing. We list it out what their bottom line is, and we get an offer, and they actually get into their new home after.
I think 2021, what happened is that with all the over asking prices, a lot of people that weren't even thinking of selling their house just jumped on the bandwagon because they were going to get X amount of money afterwards. But it was a problem. Okay, if I sell high, that means I'm buying high. Now, for someone that's transitioning to a smaller home, that's perfect. Or someone that's an empty nester, that's perfect. That was a perfect scenario for them. But let's say a family that needed a 4-bedroom house, 3-bath, that was going to be very tough. So we are seeing now that there is some wiggle room. We still get a competition offer or an offer, and we still have some competition, but it is easing up, thankfully. And now we're not having that conversation about over asking price or even waiving appraisal.
And people are actually buying what they want and not having to settle for what they can buy. They actually have the right, to ask for concessions now. They are able to drop the price just a tad. Some people like Carlos Espinosa mentioned, you'll get some of those buyers that, hey, this house has been on the market 15 days, let's drop 60,000. Well, that's very unrealistic, but that's just what the media is telling the people out there at the moment. And it's unfortunate, but that's not the case here.
Okay, excellent. Carlos Espinosa, I'm assuming, based off the trends that we're seeing in the Bay Area and really DC mimicking the Bay Area quite a bit, I'm assuming you're seeing a little bit more transparent pricing, maybe not as aggressive as we were in the DC area a year ago or so.
Right, absolutely. And honestly, sellers, are very educated. They follow the trends too. They see the interest rates going up. Every seller that I have right now, there's two things on their mind. How fast can I get the house on the market? Because they know that really the market has, for the most part, has topped out in terms of the price. Now with interest rates going up, buyers are losing, some of their buying power. So they know that they're up against the clock with interest rates on the rise. Second, they know that that this is not the best time to take a shot and get a big premium for the home. They are a little bit more realistic about the price, because for last year, for example, I had sellers say, hey, why don't we list it for 5-10% higher than what we normally would? And honestly, in normal markets, I would 100% say no to that. But we went for it, and you know what? They got that plus more. That was just the market to take those shots. Now they know that it's not like that. So really, most of my sellers are saying, hey, let's just get the house on the market right away. Let's just try to get it at least before things change, right? Because there's a lot of unknown, especially for next year. Let's try to get it on the market by October, early November at the very latest. And they are more realistic about like what their expectations are. So it's been good for me to not have to talk them, down on such a high premium price.
Okay. I don't want to get sidetracked because this does segue to another question I have, but I do want to kind of interject one question real quick. Carlos Espinosa, you kind of hinted at it. Normally, I guess in a normal market, what we saw, traditionally, I don't say normal, I would say a traditional market, purchases are really starting hot and heavy, like we'll say April, May, right? Or even a lot of homes fly on the market around March, April, May, right? For those summer purchase season. Is that shifting now, or are we seeing something else? Is this the new norm of it's just going to happen when it happens type thing? I mean, does that make sense?
You're
Or
saying like a shift to the buyers, like to
yeah, like
to more
are
of a
we
buyer
seeing
market?
are we seeing a shift in when the purchase season's actually going to start?
That's a really good question. That's something that it's really hard to tell because of the low inventory. At least here in the DC area, right? It's still competitive. It's still slim pickings out there. So it's really hard to tell with such low inventory. Typically, we see a dip in prices in the winter months here, but because inventory is so low, I'm curious to see what's going to happen, and I'm not sure that buyers are going to get the discount that they probably would anticipate in the December, January months here in the DC area.
Okay. Now, Naomi and Carlos and DFW area, Kathy, are you as seasonal in the Bay Area and the DFW area as Carlos is in the DC area? Like, are you starting to see more homes going onto the market a little bit later in the year, or seasonally than you would normally would?
Ours is more on a consistent basis. So, and because there's so much density here, right in the city, it's just really consistent. People are selling when they need to sell and buyers are buying. So we don't really have like a back to school, parents rushing before the summer months hit. It's just more on a consistent basis here. So it's kind of an ebb and flow.
Okay.
We do have the seasonal listings here and purchasing here, but recently the market, the way it's shifted a bit, we have been seeing a lot more listings. So there's a lot more inventory at the moment.
Okay. All right. Again, coming back on track and focusing on the current markets. I do want to move ahead, but I do want to move ahead to kind of ask you some questions about expanding home ownership. But before I get to those lines of questions, Kathy, you kind of hinted at it. And the term that you use is a balanced a balanced market. With inventory being so low, I mean, one could easily argue that it's not a balanced market, right? Because the demand is most certainly greater than the inventory, right? So,
correct.
Does it really constitute as a balanced market? So
what I meant by balance was more of sellers, becoming more realistic and with their pricing and things of that nature. It's not so much just a buyer's market as it was, or just a seller's market as it was. So, but yes, inventory here is a lot tighter than a lot of other places.
Now, so sticking with you, Kathy, and then I'm gonna jump to Carlos Espinosa. I see him jumping at the bit to say something.
Say it, Carlos.
Ladies first.
That's very polite of you, Carlos. So, Kathy, in your area, do you sense that it will become a truly balanced, even playing field for both buyers and sellers soon, or do you feel as though this is still the sellers will still, for the most part, have an upper hand?
So I think right now the sellers still have an upper hand. Some of the higher end, it depends on the price point as well. So when you have going 3 million and up, a lot of those buyers are kind of holding back a bit because there's so much uncertainty in the overall economy, and they're very wise and very prudent when it comes to their money. They're not going to just put it out there. So they're kind of just waiting a little bit on the sidelines too, in the higher price points, to see what's going to go on in our economy before they actually take the plunge.
Okay. Now, Carlos Espinosa, please.
All right. So the sellers do have the upper hand with the inventory. There's just less competition, right? So, they do have the leverage there. But what we are seeing, the difference in buyers, is the buyer's expectations are different as well, because now that they're paying more of a premium for a house, their interest rates are higher, so the mortgage payment is more. They expect more for a home. You know, what buyers tell me is that they want homes that are move-in ready in an upgraded condition. You know, so they're not just going to buy any house like they did last year, as is, no inspection, they'll handle everything. Now they are becoming a little bit more pickier. They want that upgraded kitchen, bathrooms, hardwood floors. You know, they want that beautiful curb appeal. Those are the houses that are still getting multiple offers. The other homes that are in average condition or below average conditions, those are the ones lagging a little bit. So, you know, that is the change that I'm seeing with buyers in this market today.
What that causes is now sellers have to kind of up their game to fix up the houses,
Yeah.
just so they can, stay, competitive. Mhm.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's not a matter of let's just grab a house right now. Let's grab the right house when we're ready, when we find it. I think that's more the trend that you're seeing.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's actually pivot to that the idea of expanding home ownership. I mean, this is something that is on the radar for, I know the National Association of Realtors and the Mortgage Bankers Association, the CUNA, the Credit Union National Association, is on our radar. Pretty much every national association that represents a realtor, mortgage banker, or credit union. I mean, this is on our radar. GSEs, the government. And there's still reports, and it may be very much in your markets, but across the country, first-time home buyers are very much being priced out of the market. Obviously, home price appreciation, the pace at which the home prices have increased have most certainly contributed to that, right? But is there anything else that you're seeing that could be preventing a first-time home buyer from entering into the market? I mean, there seems to be a lot of hesitation on that topic, right? So what are you seeing in your markets? What's causing delay? What's causing pause for a first-time home buyer to go out there and buy their dream home?
Affordability here in the Bay Area.
Well, the typical first-time home buyer, if it's a young couple that's wanting to purchase their first home, before these homes were what, 250, 225,000, which was very accessible for them. At this moment, these homes are 425,000. Taxes here in the Dallas area are very high. So that takes a huge, just the taxes alone. Some people could be paying $600 a month just on taxes alone. So that has been affecting your first-time home buyer here in the area.
Carlos Espinoza, thoughts?
Yeah, so the biggest hurdle that we see for first-time home buyers is the cash to close, right? We talked about, potentially getting closing cost help from the seller. But one of the questions that we're getting asked a lot now from first-time home buyers is down payment assistance programs. Of course, that's something that we always defer to the lender to inform the buyer. But that is something that we are getting asked pretty frequently.
Okay. So to that point, mortgage product availability to those higher loan amounts is very much a concern. Is that a correct and accurate statement?
Right.
Okay. So, I bought, the house that I'm currently in right now, we bought in, 2021, and, the realtor that we worked with, and it wasn't anyone on this panel, but the realtor we worked with, made sure that we were not getting an FHA loan or a VA loan, because that was one of the first loans that a seller would just throw out, or first contracts that the seller would throw out the window. Could perhaps that those old fears that a seller would throw out a FHA loan or a VA loan contract really be what's causing some of this impact, right? That FHA loans are good loans. I mean, they are very good loans. Same thing with VA loans at 100% financing. Down payment assistance programs, like if a buyer had a down payment assistance program, a first-time home buyer had a down payment assistance program, is that concern that a seller will throw it out the window realistic in today's market?
In today's market, no. 6 months ago, yes.
Yeah, mind you, 6 months ago, I mean, they could pick whatever they wanted. I mean, they were holding out just to get what they want. You know, they were really in control and demand of what was happening. You know,
But now they're strong. VA or FHA offer is a strong offer
yeah, absolutely.
now, here.
Yeah, well, here in the DC area, it really just depends on the competition. Like the seller's not going to reject an offer because it's an FHA or VA or asking for down payment assistance program through government agency. But it really depends if there's another offer on the table, potentially conventional loan, 20% down. Then they'll pick that, 99% of the time over an FHA buyer in today's market.
Okay, Kathy?
We don't have a whole lot of FHA going on here in this price point.
Very true.
I
very
can't
true.
really answer to that one. Yeah.
Well, what about like down in Phoenix though?
Oh, in the Phoenix area, definitely. FHA is still very good loan there. Yep. And down payment assistance programs as well. So no problem there. I mean, sellers will take an FHA buyer, no problem.
Okay. Now, let's focus on, again, the idea of expanding home ownership. This is a very important topic. I know this is up to the lenders, but I mean, what are you seeing, lenders get creative with when it comes to helping a first-time home buyer enter into the market? Are you seeing like these amazing programs that you thought, hey, 6 months ago, this would never have been a loan out there? Are you seeing certain loans hit the market that you're just like, this is a fantastic loan? And you don't, of course, don't name the lender. If it's credit, you name them, but are you